So while the Falcons are focused on Kent State, we welcome in Patrick Andrus from the Toledo Blade. And Patrick, we'll get to Kent State in a moment, but let's just revel in the moment here that we can talk about Bowling Green Falcons being one win away from being bowl eligible. They're doing things this year they have not done in a long time. If they beat Kent State, they'll have their first 3-game winning streak since the end of the 2016 season.
It's pretty remarkable. Any way you slice it, this is a pretty incredible turnaround for Bowling Green. We saw them thrive against Western Michigan. They played probably their most complete 60-minute defensive performance of the season. I'm taking words from Carl Brooks' mouth after the game, but they really held Western Michigan in check, and they needed it because their offense wasn't in its help for the entire game, but they made just enough plays to win them the game.
I think that's a key point, that they beat Western Michigan, and Bowling Green's not happy about the way they beat Western Michigan. We heard throughout this week the Bowling Green team talk about, well, if we'd done a couple more better things offensively, we would have blown the Broncos out. That's showing you the growth of this team, the maturity of this team, that they're not happy with getting wins anymore. They want to win the right way. No,
that's exactly right, Mark, because if they had a play here, a play there against Western Michigan, and we're looking at a game probably similar to the Central Michigan game, the one play in particular, Matt McDonald finds Christian Sims for what looks like it's going to be a touchdown. Sims fumbles out of the end zone, and it's a touchback. And Western Michigan immediately has a chance to go and tie the game. They didn't capitalize on that, but that's the kind of mistakes that Bowling Green is too old to make. And I think, and I wrote today that Christian Sims, I think he'll be a player to watch this week because of that. I think that when this team makes mistakes, they're hungry to correct them. They're not in the mindset where in the past when they were younger, they might have been swallowed up by their mistakes. Now they're not defined by those mistakes. I think that's a big mental shift for this team.
Kent State comes into Dwight Perry on Wednesday night. The Golden Flashes are an interesting team. They played a very difficult schedule. They really played Georgia tough. Obviously lost to the Bulldogs, also lost to Oklahoma and Washington. So they played some Power 5 schools, but they have struggled in the Mid-American Conference. We know what they're capable of doing. Anybody who remembers that first quarter against Toledo a month back, the way they put up 21 points just like that against the Rockets, but then Toledo came back and won that game. Is this Kent State team a little bit of a mystery?
This is a fascinating team. You're exactly right, because they played such a hard schedule early on, because they looked so decent against that hard schedule early on, because they look good against Toledo but weren't able to finish the job. They're unique in that not many teams in MAC this year have both a decent quarterback and a decent running back. They have both in Colin Schley and Marquez Cooper. Bowling Green hasn't really seen that in a while, and they're going to have to be ready because Sean Lewis remains one of the best offensive minds in the conference. Kent State's underachieved a little bit, but this is still they still have a lot of the team in them that earlier this year I had them at number 1 in my MAC power rankings. Obviously, they've fallen far from that, but they're going to be motivated. They're 3-6, so they're not completely out of bowl contention. So Bowling Green's going to have to be ready on both sides of the ball.
Do you think the Falcons have got the right mentality going into this game? Because they're obviously, we were just talking about it, they can become bowl eligible. They can have a 3-game winning streak. But everything we've heard from BG is all we're focused on is the Golden Flashes.
I think that there is not a sense of looking ahead. I think that this is very much an in-the-moment team. We've heard Coach Scott Loeffler all season long. He's praised the mental toughness of this team relative to past teams that they've grown up. Maybe a past Bowling Green team would have been caught looking forward if they had this opportunity. Granted, they never had this opportunity because their Bowling Green is flatly more talented this year than in past years. But I think that it makes a big difference when you have a senior quarterback like Matt McDonald. This is a guy who knows he hasn't been around a team like this, but he knows how the game is played. Carl Brooks knows how the game is played as he's watched Bowling Green grow over 5 years. These are guys who they know that they'll have to dig in. They don't underestimate the gravity of the task before them. They don't underestimate what it would mean to Bowling Green's fan base, but they have a sense of the moment in that it's another game. You go out, you beat Kent State. I think it's going to be a tough, close game, but if they win this, look at where they are compared to where they were in past years. We were talking about this team as one of the worst teams in the group of 5 as recently as early this year. We were talking about them among the worst teams in the country, and they can go to a bowl game. You can start thinking about flights to Nassau or Boise or heaven knows where. But I think that Bowling Green's going to be ready.
Orlando's another possibility for a bowl destination. We have seen projections with Bowling Green just going up I-75 to Detroit to take on Michigan State. That's going to be an interesting matchup as well. But they need to get another win before they can really start booking the travel agencies and figuring out where they're going to go. We'll find that out in a couple of weeks, though, once everything gets settled. You mentioned senior quarterback Matt McDonald. What's the future for the Bowling Green quarterback position?
I think that he was asked, Scott Lupfer was asked this week whether McDonald would be back. He didn't give a really a set answer, but he said we'd love to have him. And to be frank, yeah, Bowling Green would love to have him because he's really taken a step forward this year. I think that there was a sense coming into this season that he was capable but not a game breaker. There have been points this year when he has been a game breaker. You look at the Central Michigan game where he was dealing to all his receivers. Look at the last couple games. Even though Bowling Green hasn't put a ton of points on the board, he's been lights out from an efficiency standpoint. I think that if he were to come back next year and pieces around him came back, I think that would make Bowling Green an even more dangerous team. I think we would definitely be talking about them. They wouldn't catch anybody by surprise in that event. So we'll see what the future holds. It's going to be interesting. But I think that Bowling Green fans were surprised by McDonald this year, and I think they are much happier about the prospect of McDonald coming back. Maybe at the beginning of the year, if they heard McDonald was coming back, they would be like, "Oh, it's the same old." But this is a new Matt McDonald, and he is the face of a new Bowling Green football team.
And this will be the final game at Deutsch Perry Stadium in this season for the Bowling Green Falcons as they finish up the year on the road at Toledo, then at Ohio. So Wednesday night is going to be an emotional night for the seniors who have seen quite a bit in their time at Bowling Green.
Quite a bit is an understatement. Just think about it. The upset of Toledo in 2019, the 0-5 pandemic year, probably one of the worst years in Bowling Green football history. 2021, they beat Minnesota, but they're still bad. This year, they come out, they play 7 overtimes. They play 1 overtime. They go to UCLA, Mississippi. These seniors have basically toured the Power Five: UCLA, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Kansas State, Notre Dame. You name it, they've seen it.
Minnesota.
Yeah. They've flown around more than Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit. So I think that it is going to be an emotional night. We heard Carl Brooks say earlier this year. Just kind of seeing the progress over time it's been something to watch for him, something to watch for all those seniors, and not just for the seniors that have been around, the guys who grad transferred in, who are seniors. I think it's going to be. You're right. It's going to be a very emotional moment, and you combine the bowl element to it. This is Bowling Green's biggest game in years. Bowling Green fans should be looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it could be a senior class that we look back on as the class that turned around the Scott Loeffler era for the Bowling Green Falcons. I want to thank our guest tonight on College Ball Weekly, Patrick Andrews from the Toledo Blade. Patrick, thank you.
Thanks for having me, Mark.